Hey Randy, hey, congratulations for Like Dogs.
Hey, thanks. It's a lot of fun and I'm really proud of it.
I know this is a different type of movie that you've done. Quite a departure from the previous stuff you did, right?
Yeah, I've come from a comedy background. The last two features I did were vastly different from this one, and I just wanted to try something different, just kind of branch out and just see what it felt like to kind of dabble in the dark side a little bit.
So how did it feel dabbling in the dark side for a movie like Dogs? Because this movie was totally unexpected. I will tell you that.
Right. Well, that was kind of what I was going for. I enjoyed horror movies a lot growing up. I think the Nightmare on Elm Street movies were my favorite, but I wanted to do something that wasn't a creature or something paranormal. I wanted to kind of concentrate on the darkness within, that kind of thing, like how how messed up a situation can we put people in, and how twisted can we make somebody's mind as they're going through this and putting other people through this, that kind of thing, because that's way more scary for me, is what actual humans are capable of.
So what sparked you this original idea? And I do want to say this is very original. Not these sequels and prequels or remakes that Hollywood is coming up with.
Well, two things, to be honest, and one of them, I was definitely inspired by the Stanford prison experiment, that social experiment where people were. It was a university-run experiment where people were assigned roles as either guards or inmates, and it was supposed to last a couple of weeks, but it only ended up going 6 days before people started actually snapping and hurting each other because they got so into these roles. And that happened back in 1971, and there's been movies and books about it and all kinds of things, and I thought that was really interesting. So I kind of wanted to play with the idea of, what if we did a similar university run experiment, and this one is treating humans like animals. But specifically, this idea came to me because we were location scouting for another film that I was working on, and we found this abandoned animal shelter, and we were walking through it just before dark. It was dusk, and the wing of the building that we were in didn't have electricity, so there was just this kind of dusk light coming in through these skylights. And we walked into this big kennel room, the room that we actually shot in, and I saw these big cement cubicles, and I knew that they had kept dogs chained up in there, and they probably had at some point in time some chain link fence and everything, and it looked like the kennels that we're used to seeing. But it was just these stark concrete cubicles, and I walked in and I got the chills, and I immediately said, I'm gonna write a movie where I chain people up in here and treat them like dogs. And that was kind of how the movie started. That was how the title came to be. And we just, from there, it was just kind of like, how different can I possibly make this from anything else that I've ever done? How twisted, how messed up, but at the same time, all in the vein of fun, and somewhat rooted in, this could, in a really whacked out scenario, this could actually happen.
The thing was, your this so-called experiment is disturbing on so many levels for you. I mean, how do you sleep coming up with this behavioral phases and experiment? Writing up the script.
It really wasn't that bad, and it kind of, it went in phases. The earlier drafts of the script was, believe it or not, it went further. We did a lot more that we ended up kind of dialing back, and initially a lot of the science of the experiment we didn't really talk about too much. And in the final cut of the movie, we don't really go very much into that right now as it is. So, I mean, it's all pseudoscience at best anyway. It's just a device to move the plot forward. But before that was just kind of all thrown out the window, just for before it was a lot more gory. It was a different kind of movie. It was trying to be a little bit more of a gory slasher kind of horror movie. And we really wanted to kind of hone it down into the psychological thriller that it kind of is now. For it to be, I think a lot of horror fans that are expecting blood and carnage and that kind of thing might be a little bit disappointed when they see this, because especially the first act of the movie is kind of a slow burn, and then it really picks up. But it's not going to be what a whole lot of people are expecting.
Oh, you know what? I think it actually works. It's because you put so many twists and turns in there. You just had us audiences keep on guessing. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was the plan. I really didn't want, when you sit down to start watching this movie, I wanted to make it so nobody could really imagine where it's going to end up. We've seen too many movies that do that, and I wanted to do something different.
Now, this kennel that you found, you said that it was abandoned. Did you have to do anything special to this place to make it work for your production? I guess you had to adjust the light somehow and set up an alarm system.
So there was all sorts of things that we had to do to the place. We wanted to make it so that we could control the lighting 100% of the time. And like I mentioned before, when we found the place, one of the most distinctive uh, features that it had were these big skylights overhead. So we had to go up on the roof and completely cover them so that we could manipulate the lighting in there at any point in time. But we also wanted to make it look a little bit more distressed than it actually was. We put the chains in the backboard so we could chain people up. We put the little like hamster water dispenser kind of things in between them so that they could have little water dispensers. I mean, we really went over the top to kind of give it a dog kennel kind of feel to it. Not to mention the rest of the building. Almost the entire film was shot in that one building, and it was just kind of a treasure trove. Every different room and part of the facility was just kind of weird and twisted and creepy, and really helped in the story writing process. Like, hey, I've got this really interesting room with a trough down the middle. We nicknamed it the kill room, so that was where we did the prison shower scene. And it's just, there was already a kind of a kitchen facility, so that's where we had all the dog food opening scenes and that kind of stuff like that. So the location really kind of helped us mold the story around it. It's one of those things where inspiration just struck and we were able to kind of ride that wave.
Wow, you really milked that facility, using every room.
We did.
That's what it sounds like.
Absolutely. And the neat thing is, we were in a hurry to shoot there because we heard that it was going to be bulldozed at any minute. So we wanted to make sure that we got all of our stuff. Then we did a preliminary edit and went back and did a day of pickups just to make sure that, oh my gosh, 6 months later down the road, this facility may not be here if we needed to reshoot anything. So we rushed through the whole process and got it together. And here it is, a year later, and it's still standing over there. In fact, it's being renovated, and believe it or not, it's out in Riverside, California, and they're turning it into studios, into little sounds. There we go. That's what I get for talking with my hands. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah. You were very excited.
I knocked down my microphone. And yeah, so yeah, now they've actually converted that place into some little sound stages, and it's just kind of out beyond the 30-mile zone outside of Hollywood, and it's just kind of a neat little place for filmmakers to go. It doesn't look anything like it did back when we shot there, but I'll always remember it from that first time that I saw it, and for the movie that it helped spawn.
That is great. Now, the thing that what fascinated me is that the characters seem to be tortured, through half the movie. I mean, to basically put a soft pillow on the floor for them to lay down, or the hamster water thing on the wall, which I don't even do that for my pets. Could you tell us about trying to make this safe and comfortable for your actors, for a production that probably lasts several days?
Sure.
I don't even know if that place even smells, honestly.
Honestly, the worst thing about that place, because we shot in the month of January, it was cold. So we had little space heaters around. We had every time we called cut, there was a PA off to the side with a big warm fuzzy robe to put over the talent. And to be honest, the collars and any scenes where people were cuffed, that kind of thing, and chained to any kind of material, we kind of had them wear it a little bit in advance because some people took to it right away and there was no problem with it whatsoever. But there were a couple cast members that needed to kind of ease into the idea of it and wear it a little bit to get comfortable with it before we changed it to anything. But I also want to be very specific in the fact that everything had a breakaway element to it. So if they started to feel claustrophobic, if there was a moment where they kind of started to have anxiety or panic or anything like that, all they had to do was tug a little piece the right way and it'll pop right off. So that we were very specific to be to add some safety elements in there to that as well. But also, like you said, we had pads down on the floor. Those are actual dog beds that we used. I mean, we so much of the production design was probably just purchased at pet stores just to make it authentic. But yeah, you know, in one way we gave the actors the same creature comforts we give our pets, but only to a certain point because we didn't want them to get too comfortable. And one of the things that we did too is we shot the movie mostly in chronological order, especially the stuff in the big kennel rooms, because we wanted it to feel new when they were in there and they were new to the environment and it was appropriate for their character. And by the time we'd been shooting in there for about a week, it was grueling, it was long, they were exhausted, probably pretty tired of being in that same little 4 foot by 4 foot kennel for any length of time. And it hopefully added to their ability to kind of channel that into their character, and I think it absolutely did, because I think they did wonderful. But yeah, we were very specific about being safe and keeping them comfortable. And I think if you were to talk to any of the cast about it, other than being cold out at the location, I think that's probably their worst memory of it. They all had a good time.
Then I'm curious, since you're trying to make this such a realistic but safe environment as possible. What were they eating in the dog kennel?
I'm glad you asked that. And you know, it's interesting because we wanted something that obviously looked like dog food, but the challenge was our lead actress, Annabelle Barrett, she was vegan. So we couldn't give her anything that was actual meat product. So what we used was textured vegetable protein. That's the same stuff that they make bacon bits out of. And we just cooked it up and we added some spices to it and kind of made a brown gravy. And what we did is we took cans that formerly had some sort of like chili or something like that in it. We emptied them out, cleaned it all out, and then put our stuff in it. So for the scenes where you see the dog food cans in the can opener, then they're getting plopped out into the tray, that was our actual food in a different can. Yeah. So, but here's the thing too, because realistically, and I will be very honest with you on this one, because my wife made the textured vegetable protein, the fake dog food, and we were sitting there both tasting it as we were making it, going, do you think they'll like it? No. Do you think they'll eat it? Yeah, probably. So we saved it once. So it's like we did all the scenes where they were getting ready to eat, and it's like, all right, we're only going to shoot you eating the stuff once, so you don't have to do it more than you need to. So we tried to be merciful as far as that went, but they actually had fun. They really got into it, and then when they were acting super hungry and eating it up, and it was only when they just kept shoveling it in that they got to the point where it was like, okay, maybe they're starting to regret this decision. But it wasn't necessarily that it tasted bad. It was just because they had no idea what it tasted like. So that look on their face, like, oh my God, what is this I'm putting in my mouth? It was very real. But yeah, we had to make it material that they could eat and not have any kind of problems with.
Your direction for this film, putting them through the grinder, especially since the film looks like they're going through a grinder, is I think that's the realism that you're going for, and that is awesome.
Definitely. You know, I was talking to my costume designer, and their costumes get worn down and dirtier as it goes on. And the inspiration, the model that I said I wanted to use for that is the first Die Hard movie. I said, look at John McClane, look at Bruce Willis. He's got that white tank top on at the beginning, and by the end, he's so caked in dirt and blood and just whatever else he's encountered from that one night experience that it just looks brown or green or just, you know, gray. It just looks, it's covered in just filth. So that's what we wanted it to look like. So every day that progresses in the context of the film, there was a completely different set of wardrobe that was just dirtier and grungier.
Wow. Well, let me remark. Commend you for your lead actress, Annabelle here. I'm not sure. Is this her first leading role? Because you really did put her through the grinder, not only through the kennel and stuff, but through like emotions and personalities.
Well, okay, first of all, she's absolutely amazing. And when we had worked with her, she just completed one other feature, and it actually came out earlier this year. I believe it's called Miranda Vale. And so this was her second leading role in a feature, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but she came into it. She was very excited about the character. We sat down together. We came up with an entire backstory about her character that was a little bit different than I had initially kind of conceived of when I was writing it, but she really got into it and she really embraced it. And she had a lot of fun kind of going into that dark side too, because that's not something we get to do very often in our day-to-day lives. So be able to put yourself into somebody else that has a much different, more dark way of thinking, it's freeing in a way. And she had a lot of fun with it. She was able to really kind of through and I don't want to say too much necessarily, but kind of she was able to get certain places for her performance that she needed to go
Mhm.
by by just accessing some demons and getting some method at times. And there would be points where she would get really emotional. It was a scene that needed to be emotional, but as soon as we call cut, we just sit there and it's kind of like you just need to sit there and just breathe and just relax because everybody was emotionally drained. There's one particular scene in the room that I'm talking about, and it's where all the four lead characters are in this white room and there's a lot going on. It's towards the end of the movie, just before the climax, and it is an incredibly emotional scene. And by the time we were done shooting that day in that room, everybody was in tears because it was so emotionally draining for everybody that was in there, cast and crew alike. But the performances that came out of there is something like, having come from comedy, everything's fun and light. If you're making the crew laugh, you're doing a good job. Here, when you see everybody walking out being completely morose and just kind of like, what the heck just happened in there? That's kind of a similar feeling. You're doing something right when you're affecting people that way. And I mean, I guess that's kind of the big similarity between comedy and something like this. Is like we're trying to get a reaction out of the viewers, and if you do, you're doing it right. It may not be a reaction that people always like or appreciate. So in this kind of movie, I know it's not for everybody, but the people that will like it, hopefully, will really enjoy it.
I think this after this movie comes out, you'll definitely have a cult following. That's for sure.
Well, that would be
So so
fantastic.
so tell us, after this experience in the horror genre, you're gonna stick in this genre, or you want to go back eventually back to the geek comedy that you loved before?
That is a good question. I have a love for both, and I intend to go forward, and not just be pigeonholed into one genre. Ideally, the next project that I'm trying to get off the ground is an action comedy. So it's going back to kind of the comedy routes, but it also does have a little bit of a horror element to it as well. So, I would love to do more films that merge those two genres together and just kind of uh, have fun with it. Why do you have to be labeled as any one particular thing? Why not just kind of put it out there and try to make things that people haven't seen before? Try to make things that feel a little bit original. Like I said, not everybody's going to be into it, but at least we're trying. We're swinging for the fences.
That is great effort. One more thing before I let you go. I
Sure.
know that before I hit the interview record button, I have a cat, you have a cat, but this movie is called Like Dogs. Do you even have a dog?
I grew up with dogs all my life, and I absolutely love dogs. I don't have one right now. Once I met my wife, she kind of converted me slowly into a cat person. So that's kind of how that happened. Eventually, we intend to get a dog. We already even have a dog door built into our side gate, so it's going to happen. But until then. I have a movie like this where I can get my fill of dog interaction. And we actually do have a dog in the movie too, for the opening credit sequence. That's the only actual dog that we have in the movie. And the dog was an amazing actor as well.
And and obviously, like you admitted, that's not your dog.
No, and it's not my dog. Yeah, yeah. We had to hire the dog.
Terrific. Well, Randy, hey, congratulations once again for Like Dogs. I
Thank
really
you.
do hope you come up with more unique and different films, you know, such as Like Dogs, because we need fresher movies out there. That's for certain.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate hearing that, and I will make that my mission going forward to bring you guys stuff you haven't seen before.
Most excellent. Then I can't wait to speak to you again on your next project. Thank you.
Love it. Can't wait. Thank you so much.